Hi, it's Candice. I'm back with Grow Local, and we are going to go and check the containers that we did last time. One was the kale with the Swiss chard and the lettuce, and I don't know if yours is bigger or if it's smaller, but either way, I hope it's growing. And today is the day that we're going to plant the tomato in the container that we had the radish on the outside and the lettuce on the inside. Now, some of my lettuce is coming up okay, some of it not so much, but I have had some trouble with some slugs, so it might have been them. This tomato is called a bush early girl, and this one is what they refer to as a determinant. That means this tomato is going to grow to a certain height and it's going to have a certain amount of fruit, and then it's done. If you are going to grow an indeterminate, those are vining tomatoes, and they will keep on growing as long as the weather holds, and they can get incredibly tall, 6 feet, 7 feet, maybe even bigger. But for the container, we're going to be doing the bush, the determinate one. And here's something that you're probably going to want, you're probably not even going to think about doing. But if you look at your tomato, it's got all sorts of little hairs on it, and sometimes you'll find little bumps on it. Those are actually potential roots. And the stronger root system you've got on a tomato, the more nutrients it's going to be able to take up, and it's going to be a little more stable in this windy little city we have here. So the first thing that you're going to do is look at the two leaves at the bottom. Those were the cotyledons, or the seed leaves that first came out. This is your first set of true leaves. This is what a tomato leaf actually looks like. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick off those cotyledons, and then you're going to pinch off this guy. And if you want, you can pinch off that guy. I still get a little bit nervous about it, but you could leave it. It's going to end up looking more like a palm tree. You're going to take your tomato out, and you will make a hole. And I'm going to use gloves, guys. Sorry, I forgot to put them on. But I want you to make a hole in your container that's going to accommodate that lovely tomato all the way up there. So he's buried really well. And wherever those little hairs are in contact with the soil, you are going to get more roots, stronger plant, and you're going to get some awesome looking tomatoes later. Some people find that their soil is not very deep and they don't think that they can plant their tomato that far down. There is a trick that some people do. Tomatoes are an intelligent little plant. They know which way the sun is, and they know which way they have to grow. So if you were to take this plant and lay it on the ground for a couple of days, the stem will naturally bend up. And where all these little hairs have attached to the soil, they're going to make roots. So then you can bury it. You still got a really good, long, strong root system, and your tomato will grow up. This one, I'll pick off some more, make him some more. This is a black crim. This is a vining one. It's also an heirloom, which just means he's been around for a long, long time and hasn't been commercialized. And I'm digging down deep. And see if he's going to fit. I can go a little farther. And then I will take him out. And if you remember, it's make the L with your hand so that you're not breaking the stem. Pop him in. Save my tag so I know what he is. And because this is a vining tomato, it's going to need support. There is no way it's going to be able to stand up on its own. So in this case, I'm going to use a pole, just a bamboo pole, and I'm going to put it in the ground beside where the root ball was. And just sink it in. And as it grows, I have handy dandy little Velcro ties. You can use the t-shirts, you can use old pantyhose, anything that's got some give or that is easy for you to adjust for the size. Because if you were to put something around this really, really tightly, the stem's going to continue to get fatter and fatter and fatter, and then you'll strangle your tomato plant. So I just keep these on the pole, so when it grows up tall, I've already got them there for attaching later. This guy is another black crim, and again, he's a lot bigger. And if you can notice on this, this is what they refer to as a sucker. You've got a branch coming off, there's the main stalk, and it's a new set of leaves. Some people will pinch them off, some people won't. If you want to find out if it's really advantageous to you or not, buy 2 tomato plants that are the same. Take all the suckers off of one, don't take them off the other, and see if it makes a difference to you. Good strong roots. Plunk them in. And I tell you, the first time you do this, it scares the starch off you, taking all those leaves and branches off your tomato. But there you go. This is not going to do any good. Not if it grows to 6 feet. So again, I grew tomatoes last year and didn't think it through. All my tomatoes were ready to ripen when I was on vacation. So being the nice people that we are, we told the neighbors to come over and just pick to their heart's content, and they did. But I tell you, we had the little Candyland, which is a little tiny currant tomato, and it's absolutely awesome. We had more tomatoes on that thing. You just go and you pull them all off, toss them in the salad. There's no chopping, no muss, no fuss. Kids just absolutely love them. They'll keep stealing them from you. But there we go. I've got actually 3 tomatoes planted in here. And something that goes really well with tomatoes is basil. I got one that's already started. Basil and tomatoes are really compatible. Bugs don't like the smell of the basil. They don't necessarily really like the fuzziness off the tomato leaves either. But if you're gonna do these, you'd plant it so that the heat of the sun at noon is usually really scorchy on basil. But if you plant it close to your tomato, when that noonday sun comes by, your tomato leaves are gonna be giving it a little bit of shade. So I am gonna plunk this guy over here. And there, I've got my tomato and basil. And it's a little bit windy today, so I'm gonna do my seed basil tomorrow, and that will probably just go in here. I haven't quite decided yet. Oh, one more. If you are on a balcony, you can actually grow tomatoes in that sort of a space. This is one that fits on a fence. I've got it right there. This is called a tumbling tom. I've already taken off the leaves. The pot isn't that deep, so what I'm going to do is just break this open just a little bit. It's not going to hurt the tomato. It's not going to kill it. Might shock it a little bit, which just means he's going to flip out and go, oh, I need to make more roots. I need to get a better anchor. And this little guy will completely fill your pot, tumble over, and you will have all sorts of cherry tomatoes growing. And it just keeps going and going and going. Also, when you're doing a container, try to use your potting mixes. They're a different composition. If you are just using regular garden soil, a lot of times it's too dense and it doesn't have the same kind of bug activity that keeps it nice and light and friable. And when you're watering this at the end of the season, if you were just using regular garden soil in your small containers, a lot of times it's just solid like a brick, and your plants don't do that well in it. as long as it says it's for containers or pots, don't worry about the brand. Use what you can get, okay? They're all pretty well the same. Some have a few more additives, but... And because this one tumbles, he doesn't need any sort of support. The one in your container does. So I'm just going to put this tomato cage on. So the bush tomato is going to use this sort of a support and get lots and lots of tomatoes. These guys are going to continue to vine up, and I will use my Velcro straps. This guy is a vining one, and he's probably going to get attached to the back side of this screen. And one other thing, when you're gardening, don't be afraid to try something fun. This is my conversation piece. This works really well for me. I don't have kids in school anymore. I don't have grandbabies. I don't really have a whole lot of family in town. So any opportunity I have to flap my gums at somebody, I will take it. This is called a mouse melon cucamelon. And it's a little tiny lemony flavored cucumber. And I usually plant it out by the alley strip. Anybody that goes down by an alley, if they see flowers growing, they will pick them. So I've got herbs down there. I will have the cucamelon this year. I have sunflowers, I get zinnias. I try to think of as many different kinds of things that I can possibly have along there so that people are free to come by and just go, ooh, that's different. Ooh, that's fun. Oh, can I try one? And it's great. This little thing, he only grows about maybe a foot wide, 2 feet wide, but he'll go for 10 feet and you get so many of these little flavor bombs on them.